Divorce. It's not a pretty word. It almost sounds like death, or an accident, or even a crime. The word itself makes bachelors nervous about getting married. It makes married people stop for a second, just to check if they are still alive. Every time a celebrity couple breaks up, people say the same thing. Divorce is rising in India. It's because of Western culture. You have heard this before, right? People say divorce is destroying Indian values. They say our parents stayed together, but today's generation is too selfish and too weak. But this is not true. Divorce or leaving a bad marriage is not new. It is not Western, and it is definitely not imported from anywhere. It has always existed here. The difference is now we can see it. Divorce has become more visible. In this video, we will look at a few things. First, what divorce looked like before it even became a legal word in India. Second, why divorce rates are going up today, and why that 1% number people quote often does not tell the full story. Third, why getting divorced in India is still much harder than getting married. Then, why the idea of divorce makes many people uncomfortable. What are the anxieties around divorce? And finally, what this whole conversation should make you think about in your life and your relationships. So let's start. Long before the word divorce even existed in Indian law, people had their own ways of ending marriages. In many Dalit and Adivasi communities, if a couple could not live together, they just separated. Sometimes a local panchayat would step in, sometimes the woman's family would return the bride price. And that was it. No lawyers, no court, no long drama. In some matrilineal societies, like the Nayars in Kerala or the Khasis in Meghalaya, women could end relationships whenever they wanted. Men often moved between households. It was not seen as shameful or strange. Even in parts of North India, women could separate and remarry within their caste. They might pay a small fine or take part in a short ritual, but it was accepted. These were not Western ideas. These were Indian systems, flexible, community-based, and practical. People understood that sometimes a marriage does not work. The idea that marriage must last forever, that you are stuck for life, came mainly from the upper caste Sanskritic traditions. And later, when the British tried to write one Hindu law for everyone, they froze this idea into the legal system. What they chose was not how most Indians actually lived. They picked up the upper caste Brahmin model, marriage as sacred, lifelong, and unbreakable. So, the so-called traditional Hindu marriage people defend today, it's not purely ancient. It's partly a colonial invention, mixed with Victorian morality and Brahminical patriarchy. Now, the big question. Are divorces really rising in India? People throw around all kinds of numbers. 1%, 5%, even 30%. Let's slow down and look at that 1% number for a minute. Officially, India's divorce rate is around 1%. That's one of the lowest in the world. For context, in the US, about 40 to 45% of marriages end in divorce. In the UK, it's around 30%. So yes, the divorce rate in India looks extremely low. But what does that number actually measure? It measures only legal divorces. It does not count millions of people who simply separate, move out, or live apart without ever going to courts. The census in 2011 found that more people were separated than divorced, 0.61% versus 0.24%. So for every one legal divorce, there are at least two quiet separations. And it's not the same everywhere. Divorce is concentrated in cities, among educated and middle class families, and especially among working women. Some states like Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Kerala show much higher filing rates. Some media reports suggest 10 to 18% of marriages in those states go through some form of legal separation. However, this data is not backed by official statistics. Meanwhile, rural areas barely show up in the divorce data. So when people say, everyone I know has a friend who got divorced, they are not really lying. In their world, urban, connected, middle class world, it is visible. That's why so many doubt the 1% number. It's not that the statistics is fake, it's just incomplete. So yes, divorces are rising, especially in cities. But that does not mean marriage is collapsing. It means more people are choosing not to stay stuck. So what is changing? Why are more people walking out of bad marriages today? Let's break it down. First reason is visibility. Earlier couples who could not live together just stopped living together. No one filed anything. The woman might quietly move back to her parents' home. The man might start another family somewhere else. Today, it gets recorded. There is paperwork, media stories, court data, and that makes it look like divorce is exploding. It's just visibility, not necessarily an increase in volume. Second reason is economics. More women earn their own money now. They can pay rent, raise kids, and survive without depending on a husband or in-laws. Their financial independence changes everything. When survival does not depend on marriage, living becomes an option. Third reason is urban life. Cities change how families function. You live away from your parents, you meet different kinds of people, you meet more people, and privacy becomes possible in cities. Your whole community does not need to know your business. So if your marriage collapses, you can actually move on. In a small village, everyone knows, everyone talks about it. In a city, anonymity gives freedom. Next reason is urban stress. Modern life is relentless. Work hours, traffic, bills. You get home exhausted. It is not surprising that two tired people under the same roof can stop talking, stop connecting. And when emotional distance grows, small conflicts become breaking points. Our last reason here is weakening stigma. 20 years ago, being divorced meant social death. Now it's uncomfortable but not unthinkable. In metros, people date again, remarry, or stay single without being seen as broken. The shift in social judgment is huge. When shame drops, honesty rises. Here is the thing. The obsession with calling divorce a Western disease hides something deeper. Our fear of women exercising agency. When men walk out of marriages, it is seen as normal. He is frustrated, he needs space, he is ambitious. But when a woman leaves, it's suddenly rebellion, it's selfishness, it's a threat to family values. That double standard runs deep. Even today, many women who step out of unhappy marriages face stigma, financial struggle, and sometimes outright violence. So the question here is, can a woman live with dignity after divorce? And let's be honest, just because divorce is more visible does not mean it is easy. You can get married in 2 days, but divorce can drag for years, both socially and legally. The entire system is built to save the marriage, not to end it. Counselors keep telling women to adjust. Courts push for reconciliation. Families step in with emotional blackmail. Think of the children. What will people say? Sociologists call this sticky conjugality. Even when a marriage is dead, the couple stays tied together by money, morality, and habit. You might stop loving each other, but the social glue does not let you walk away. For many people, it's not love that keeps them together. It's fear. Fear of judgment, fear of loneliness, fear of being the one who broke the illusion of forever. So they stay. Not because they are happy, but because leaving is harder than surviving unhappiness. Not because our marriages are stronger, but because our exits are blocked. That's why India's divorce rate is low. When people talk about divorce, they are not just talking about two people splitting up. They are talking about something much bigger, about family, culture, and the kind of society we are becoming. The first fear is about family stability. Many people worry that if more marriages break, families will fall apart. They think children will grow up confused, old parents will have no one to care for them, and society will lose its balance. But families don't disappear, they just take new shapes. Single parents, blended families, co parenting, these are also families. They just work differently. The second fear is about children. You often hear, but what about the kids? As if living with constant fights is better than growing up with separated but peaceful parents. Yes, divorce can be hard for children, but so can a cold, silent, unhappy home. Then comes the moral fear. Many believe divorce means people have become selfish or too Western. But what they call selfishness is often just self respect. When women walk out of bad marriages, people see it as rebellion because for centuries they were not allowed to. There is also an economic fear. Divorce means two houses instead of one, extra expenses, alimony, custody battles. For middle class and poor families, that's real pressure. But the situation is better support systems, not forcing people to stay trapped. And finally, there is a quiet gender fear, a fear that men are losing control over family life, that women can now live, earn, and live on their own terms. It feels like chaos to some, but really it's just equality doing its work. So when people panic about rising divorce rates, they are not just worried about marriage, they are worried about change, about losing the old sense of order. But change does not always mean collapse. Sometimes it just means society is growing up. So what does this mean for you, for your own life and relationships? See, India's divorce rate may be 1%, but that does not mean the rest are living in bliss. Most marriages are somewhere in between. Not heaven, not hell, just okay. That's fine. No one gets nirvana from marriage. But not every okay or so-so marriage needs a divorce either. As we discussed earlier, divorce is still hard, legally, socially, and emotionally. So what do people do? They cope, they adjust, and repair whatever they can. That's not weakness, that's life. When something has real value, you grow with it. An old friend, a long-time business partner, a wife or a husband you have grown with, such bonds carry a history that is hard to replace. You don't hold on out of fear. You hold on because the relationship still has meaning, even if it is imperfect. However, staying together is not always a virtue. Sometimes people behave loyally just out of fear. Similarly, deciding to leave someone is not always a personal failure. It can mean you have enough respect for yourself, for the life you still have. At a personal level, people need to be wise, not reactive. If a relationship is truly over, have the courage to leave. If there is still life in it, stay and work through the mess. That balance, knowing when to hold on and when to let go, is what makes us human. At the societal level, we need to value individual freedom. A healthy society is not the one with the fewest divorces. It is the society where people can stay or walk away without fear, guilt, or shame. Thank you.